I was staring at a grid of faces on my laptop screen when my mother said the words that would change everything. "We don't want to see you at her graduation." The sentence hung in the digital air between us, each syllable sharp enough to cut through the static of our family Zoom call. My sister Vanessa smiled from her square, triumphant. My father looked away, and I sat there in my small apartment in Seattle, realizing that being the disappointment wasn't something that happened to me. It was something they'd been carefully constructing for years. Before I tell you what happened after that call ended, tell me, have you ever been erased by the people who were supposed to see you first? And if so, how did you find your way back to yourself? Growing up, I learned early that love in our family worked like a spotlight. It followed Vanessa everywhere, bright and warm, leaving me standing just outside the glow. She was 3 years younger than me, but somehow always 3 steps ahead in our parents' eyes. When she brought home AB+, it was celebrated with dinner out. When I brought home straight A's, it was expected, briefly acknowledged, then forgotten by the next morning. I remember being 14, winning a regional science fair with a project I'd spent months perfecting. I stayed up late soldering circuits, researching renewable energy models, rehearsing my presentation until my voice went hoarse. The night I won, I called home from the hotel, breathless with excitement. My mother answered, distracted. "That's wonderful, Gloria," she said. "But Vanessa just got cast in the school play. We're celebrating tonight. Can we talk tomorrow?" Tomorrow never came. By the time I got home, the moment had passed, replaced by rehearsal schedules and costume fittings. My trophy sat on a shelf in my bedroom, collecting dust while Vanessa's participation certificate hung framed in the living room. College was supposed to be my escape. I chose Seattle specifically because it was far enough from our home in Sacramento that I could finally breathe without wondering if I was taking up too much space. I worked 2 jobs to cover what my minimal financial aid didn't, tutoring chemistry students and pulling espresso shots at a coffee shop near campus. My apartment was tiny, barely large enough for a bed and a desk, but it was mine. The walls were thin enough that I could hear my neighbor's late-night guitar practice, and the radiator clanked like it was trying to communicate in Morse code, but none of that mattered. For the first time, I existed in a space where my worth wasn't measured against someone else's shine. I threw myself into my studies, majoring in environmental engineering with a minor in sustainable design. The work was brutal, endless problem sets that stretched into early morning hours, lab reports that required precision I didn't know I had. But I loved it. I loved the clarity of equations, the way solutions revealed themselves if you were patient enough to work through the variables. There was something healing about a world where effort directly correlated with results, where merit wasn't subjective or easily redistributed to someone more favored. My professors noticed. Dr. Kellen, who taught my advanced thermodynamics course, pulled me aside one afternoon and told me I had a gift for seeing patterns others missed. She encouraged me to apply for the Dean's Innovation Award, a prestigious recognition given to one graduating senior each year. The application was extensive, requiring a portfolio of work, letters of recommendation, and a proposal for a capstone project. I spent weeks on it, pouring everything I'd learned into a proposal for a low-cost water filtration system designed for rural communities. When the acceptance letter came, I cried. Not the sad kind of crying, but the kind that comes when you finally prove to yourself that you're capable of something extraordinary. I wanted to share it with someone, to hear that they were proud. So I did what I always did. I called home. My father answered. "Congratulations, honey," he said, his tone pleasant but distant, like he was reading from a script. "That's a big deal." Then, almost immediately, he added, "Your sister got accepted into that graduate program she applied for. The one in New York. Your mother's been on the phone all day helping her apartment hunt." I should have hung up then. I should have recognized the pattern, the way my accomplishments were always used as a transition into Vanessa's narrative. But hope is a stubborn thing. It keeps you reaching for validation even when you know the well is dry. The months leading up to graduation were a blur of final exams, project deadlines, and the slow, creeping awareness that my family's attendance was uncertain. I sent them the date, the time, the venue information. I sent it twice. My mother responded with a thumbs up emoji. My father didn't respond at all. Vanessa sent back a message that said, busy that week, but congrats. I told myself it didn't matter. I told myself I'd gotten used to celebrating alone. But the truth was, some part of me still hoped they'd surprise me. That maybe, just maybe, this milestone would be different. 2 weeks before graduation, my mother initiated a family Zoom call. We hadn't done one in months, and I logged in with cautious optimism, thinking maybe she wanted to coordinate travel plans. The screen loaded slowly, squares populating one by one. My father appeared first, sitting in his home office, papers scattered on the desk behind him. My mother joined next, her face carefully made up, hair styled the way she did for important occasions. Then Vanessa, lounging on a couch I didn't recognize, probably from her new apartment. Hi, everyone, my mother began, her voice bright in that forced way that signaled something unpleasant was coming. I wanted us to connect before things get too hectic. Vanessa's moving to New York next month, and we've been helping her prepare. It's been wonderful spending this time together as a family. As a family. The phrase landed like a stone in my chest. I cleared my throat. That's great. I'm really happy for you, Vanessa. And, I wanted to confirm you all got the graduation details I sent? Silence. The kind that stretches and warps until it becomes its own answer. My mother glanced at my father. Your father and I have been discussing that, she said carefully. We've decided it's better if we focus our energy on Vanessa's transition right now. It's a big move and she needs our support. I felt something inside me crack. What about my graduation? Vanessa shifted in her square, trying and failing to suppress a smile. Gloria, you're 22, she said, her tone dripping with condescension. You don't need us there like I need help moving across the country. My mother nodded, as if Vanessa had just articulated something profound. Exactly. You've always been so independent, Gloria. You'll be fine. The word fine echoed in my head. I'd been fine through every ignored achievement, every canceled plan, every moment I'd been told to shrink so Vanessa could expand. Fine was what they called me when they meant invisible. So you're not coming, I said flatly, needing to hear it stated plainly. My father finally spoke. We think it's for the best. Vanessa's situation is time-sensitive, and honestly, Gloria, you understand, don't you? You've never needed us the way she does. I wanted to scream. I wanted to list every time I'd needed them and they hadn't shown up. But instead, I asked the question that had been building in my throat for years. Have you ever considered that maybe I stopped needing you because you stopped being there? My mother's face hardened. That's not fair, Gloria. We've always supported you. Financially, maybe, I said, my voice shaking but steady. But support isn't just money. It's showing up. It's noticing. It's making someone feel like they matter. Vanessa laughed, short and sharp. God, you're so dramatic. Not everything is about you. And that's when my mother said it. The sentence that would replay in my mind for weeks. Gloria, we don't want to see you at her graduation if you're going to have this attitude. Vanessa's moment is important, and we're choosing to be there for her. You're an adult. Act like one. The screen froze for a second, buffering, and in that frozen moment, I saw all three of them locked in their squares, united in their dismissal of me. When the video resumed, I didn't wait for more. I closed the laptop. The silence in my apartment was deafening. I sat there, hands still hovering over the keyboard, as the weight of what had just happened settled into my bones. They weren't coming. They'd never planned to come. And worse, they blamed me for being hurt by their absence. I didn't cry that night. Instead, I opened my laptop and began drafting an email to Dr. Cullen. I told her everything, not because I wanted pity, but because I needed someone to know that I was still here, still working, still worthy. She responded within an hour. Her message was brief, but devastating in its kindness. Gloria, your family's inability to see your value doesn't diminish it. You've earned every ounce of recognition coming your way. I'll be in the front row at graduation, and I'll cheer loud enough for all of them. That email became my anchor. I printed it and taped it above my desk, a reminder that worth isn't determined by the people who refuse to acknowledge it. Graduation day arrived with overcast skies, the kind of gray that makes Seattle feel like it's holding its breath. I dressed carefully, smoothing my gown, adjusting my cap, checking my reflection in the mirror. I looked composed, but underneath, I felt like I was held together with thread. The ceremony was held in the university's main hall, a beautiful space with high ceilings and light streaming through tall windows. Families filled the rows, clutching flowers and cameras, their faces bright with pride. I found my seat among the other award recipients, scanning the crowd out of habit, knowing I wouldn't find familiar faces, but unable to stop myself from looking. Dr. Kellen sat in the third row, just as she'd promised. She caught my eye and smiled, holding up a small sign that read, "Proud of you, Gloria." The gesture was so simple, so unexpected, that I felt my throat tighten. The ceremony began with speeches, the dean welcoming everyone, faculty members offering congratulations. Then came the awards. The Dean's Innovation Award was announced last, and when my name was called, I walked to the stage with my head high, my steps measured and deliberate. As I accepted the award, I was given the opportunity to say a few words. I hadn't planned a speech, but standing there, looking out at the crowd, I felt something shift inside me. I gripped the edges of the podium and began to speak. "Thank you," I started, my voice steady. "This award represents 4 years of work, late nights, failed experiments, and the kind of persistence that only comes when you have something to prove." I paused, letting the word settle. But it also represents something else. It represents the people who showed up when my own family didn't. The professors who answered emails at midnight. The classmates who formed study groups and refused to let anyone fall behind. The strangers who became friends simply because they saw me trying and decided that was enough. A murmur rippled through the audience. Dr. Kellen nodded, her eyes glistening. "To anyone here who feels unseen by the people who should see them most, I want you to know this. Your worth isn't measured by their attention. You are brilliant, capable, and deserving, whether they show up or not." The applause started slowly, then built into something powerful, a wave of sound that filled the hall. I stepped back from the podium, holding the award against my chest, and for the first time in years, I felt seen. After the ceremony, Dr. Kellen found me outside, pulling me into a hug that felt like absolution. "You were extraordinary up there," she said. "I hope you know that." I nodded, unable to speak past the lump in my throat. That evening, I returned to my apartment and found 3 missed calls from my mother. I didn't listen to the voicemails. I didn't need to. Whatever she wanted to say, it couldn't undo the years of absence. Instead, I opened a new document on my laptop and began writing. Not for them, but for me. I wrote about the girl who learned to celebrate herself, who built a life out of the scraps of recognition she was given, who finally understood that sometimes the family you need is the one you create. A week later, I received a letter from Vanessa. It was short, written in her looping handwriting. "Gloria, I saw the video of your speech. Someone posted it online. I didn't realize how much we hurt you. I'm sorry." The apology felt insufficient, a band-aid over a wound that required surgery. But it was something. A crack in the armor of their denial. I wrote back, equally brief. "Thank you for saying that. I hope someday we can rebuild what was broken. But right now I need space to heal." I never heard from my parents directly. No apology, no acknowledgement. Just silence, which in its own way, was the most honest response they'd ever given me. Looking back now, 6 months later, I don't regret the way things unfolded. That Zoom call, as painful as it was, forced me to stop waiting for permission to value myself. I've started a new job at an environmental nonprofit, working on the very project I proposed for my award. I'm surrounded by people who see my potential and challenge me to grow. And slowly, carefully, I'm learning to trust that I belong in rooms where I'm celebrated, not tolerated. If you've ever been told you don't matter by the people who should have protected you, I want you to know this. Their blindness doesn't define you. You are not too much, too sensitive, or too difficult. You are simply too bright for people who prefer the dark. My name is Gloria, and I graduated with the Dean's Innovation Award. Not because my family was there, but because I refused to let their absence stop me from shining. If this story resonated with you, share your thoughts in the comments below. And hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Sometimes the greatest act of rebellion is simply choosing yourself.